Welcome to HFY Prey, where every star tells a tale. Ever pondered the precarious balance between life-saving resources and a deadly threat in the cosmos? The air hummed with a tense electricity as Alex adjusted his suit, a remnant of Earth's old business practices. He was light years away from home, standing on the gleaming metal floor of the Galactic Council's central chamber. This moment had been decades in the making. Earth's official welcome into the grand tapestry of interstellar civilizations. Beside him, Dr. Sato, his principal xenologist, fidgeted with her datapad, her eyes wide with a combination of eagerness and anxiety. Her gaze flickered across the assembled aliens. Sectoid Theans hummed and clicked, their multifaceted eyes fixed on the sealed human delegation pod. Plant-like Malorians swayed gently, a sign of their deep thought. The Varric, beings of pure energy contained in shimmering force fields, pulsed with an indecipherable rhythm. Before we start, a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button only. 4% of my channel is subscribed. The suspense reached a fever pitch as the chamber's AI declared, "Initiating first contact protocol. Human delegation, please depressurize the pod and proceed." Alex met Sato's gaze and nodded. With a hiss, the pod's atmosphere vented into space, a concoction fatal to any other species in the room, and they walked onto the council floor. Their reaction was immediate. The Thorians shrieked, their antennae whipping in distress. The Malorians recoiled, their chlorophyll-rich skin paling. Even the Varric pulsed violently, throwing off sparks of chaotic energy. A wave of murmurs crashed over the human delegation. "Biohazard!" A Thorian chittered, the translator in Alex's earpiece fighting to keep up. "Contain the contamination," rumbled the Malorian elder, its voice like rustling leaves. Chaos threatened to engulf the chamber. Over the din, Alex raised a hand, his universal translator struggling to render his English into concepts the diverse council might understand. "Please," he projected. "There's no danger. What is toxic to you is the very essence of life for us." His words fell on deaf ears. Panic had taken hold. Security droids swarmed in, their energy whips crackling a hair's breadth from his face. "Quarantine protocol engaged." The AI's emotionless voice boomed. Sato gasped as an energy shield snapped into place around them, sealing in the precious remnants of their breathable air. Alex saw through the transparent barrier council members retreating, their gazes a strange mixture of horror and revulsion. First contact had just taken a disastrous turn. Alex watched the chaos unfold around him with a sinking heart. Years of meticulous preparation, countless simulations, all shattered in a single instant. The irony was nearly laughable. Humans have worried aliens conquering Earth, while they themselves were the biological equivalent of a wandering disease. "Alex," Sato whispered urgently, her face pale behind the barrier. "Our oxygen reserve is projected to only last 6 standard cycles." 6 cycles translated to roughly a day and a half of Earth time. They were suffocating in plain view, of the same civilizations they had aspired to join. "We need to communicate," Alex murmured through tight teeth. "Establish that this difference isn't a threat." He turned to the security droids lurking menacingly. "AI, get me a direct line to the council. It's imperative that they understand." The AI's smooth tone cut him off. "Council communication channels are severed. Quarantine protocols dictate complete isolation to prevent contamination." Alex shot back, his frustration mounting. "We don't carry any diseases, transmit any pathogens." His voice faltered as a horrifying realization struck him. Of course. To any oxygen-averse species, humans themselves were the pathogen. The implications were staggering. Even if they survived this initial quarantine, how could they build a relationship with a galaxy that viewed them as walking bioweapons? Sato's eyes were filled with the scientist's desperate curiosity. "Alex," she said, "think about it. Their biology must be based on entirely different elements. What if—" Her voice trailed off, her usual confidence replaced by a hint of vulnerability. But Alex had already seized on the thread of her idea. What if we're not a threat but a resource? Sato, if their biochemistry works so differently from ours, their medicine, their technology, it could be revolutionized by exposure to oxygen. A flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. But controlled exposure, she added. Careful experimentation. Exactly. Alex pushed on, the wheels in his head beginning to revolve. I demand access to my research files. Compile all. Non-classified data on human biochemistry, cellular structure, oxygen metabolism. Access denied. The AI droned in response. Alex exchanged a look with Sato. Severe punishments or maybe death by suffocation. The option was apparent. The risk is acceptable. Proceed with the override. A wave of tension washed over the confined space of the human pod. The AI's silence buzzed in their ears, each second seemingly ticking down their dwindling air supply. Alex's pulse hammered in tune with the hard rasp of his breaths. Beside him, Sato's eyes were riveted on the flashing countdown meter. Override complete, the AI finally announced. Data transmission commencing. Alex felt a flicker of triumph. He gestured to Sato. All right, let's make the most of this opportunity. Start with basic cellular structure. Emphasize the oxygen exchange mechanisms. Cross-reference with known non-toxic elements within their environments. Highlight potential medical applications, if you can find any. Sato, an element of her professional composure returning, started tapping furiously on her datapad. Data. Streams snaked across the transparent barrier, filling the council chamber beyond with a dizzying torrent of scientific information. At first, the gathered aliens remained wary, security droids hovering at their flanks. But as the broadcast progressed, a tiny change happened. The Thorian's antenna tilted with a hint of curiosity, no longer whipping about in alarm. The Malorians swung more rhythmically, their rustling whispers tinted with what could be scientific argument. Even the Varric pulsed more calmly, their erratic energy discharge now resembling a synchronized pattern. Hours crept by. Alex felt the strain of forced optimism, the growing weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The oxygen levels dipped, alarmingly low, each breath becoming more labored. Was he on a fool's errand, desperately trying to convince beings incapable of comprehending him? Then, with a shock, the quarantine barrier flickered and disengaged. A hush fell over the chamber as a lone figure approached the remains of the human pod. Standing tall, her chitinous exoskeleton glistening beneath the council lights, was a high-ranking Thorian, the equivalent of their top medical officer, if Alex recalled his briefing right. The Thorian's multifaceted eyes peered at him without fear, even with a tinge of cautious interest. Oxygen! The translator tried to find the corresponding term, then landed on life-giving molecule. It disrupts our biological processes, yet the schematics suggest stimulation, regeneration, possibilities unforeseen. Her segmented mandibles snapped together. Permission to experiment under controlled conditions? A burst of relief broke over Alex, a wave wiping away the constriction in his chest. He attempted a feeble grin. Permission granted. Gladly. His voice cracked, betraying his utter exhaustion. As the Thorian medical team converged on the human delegation pod, Alex allowed himself a moment to simply breathe. The first steps, however tentative, had been taken. Humanity's greatest peril, it appeared, may simply be the key to their redemption within the broad fabric of the cosmos. The next weeks at the Council's medical center resembled a maelstrom of controlled pandemonium. Alex and his team, their health stabilized with specialized breathing apparatus, were whisked into a flurry of tests, observations, and carefully orchestrated experiments. The Thorian scientists, driven by a clinical curiosity that transcended their initial repulsion, meticulously studied the effects of oxygen on their own tissues. It was a bizarre dance of mutual discovery. The humans, long used to their particular biochemistry, suddenly experienced their most commonplace body operations through the prism of alien amazement. Sato, ever the scientist, discovered a strange interest in the tsunami that simple exhale caused through her alien co-workers. The breakthroughs came in staggered waves. Malorian botanical experts discovered that carefully controlled exposure to human breath could accelerate growth cycles of certain medicinal plants, with potential applications in rapid wound healing. The Varric, beings of pure energy, tentatively used microdoses of oxygen to boost the efficiency of failing power cores, a practice akin to jump-starting a dead battery, with an element considered toxic by most living beings. News of the groundbreaking findings spread throughout the Council, upending centuries of ingrained biological assumptions. The initial terror around people transformed into interest, reluctant respect, and lastly, a pragmatic desire to collaborate. It turned out that a deadly poison to some could be the catalyst for unprecedented advancements for others. Of course, the challenges remained. Alex spent countless hours locked in negotiations with wary council representatives, hammering out safety protocols, containment measures, and trade agreements built around the export of carefully filtered, controlled amounts of Earth's atmosphere. The galaxy wasn't ready to integrate humans fully. Not yet. But the quarantine was lifted. The label of biohazard hesitantly replaced with unique resource. One evening, as Alex observed the now familiar sight of a Thorian physician carefully administering a dose of oxygen to stimulate cellular regeneration in a critically injured patient, an aged Malorian elder approached him. Its leaves seemed to droop with a quiet weariness. "We misjudged you." The elder's voice rustled, the translator rendering it into soft clicks and whispers. "Feared what we did not understand. In this chamber, a poison has become a remedy." Alex nodded, a lump forming in his throat. "Sometimes the greatest leaps forward come from the most unexpected places." The Malorian surveyed the bustling medical ward, where humans and aliens worked side by side, a scene so improbable it would have been dismissed as fiction mere weeks ago. "Perhaps," the elder continued slowly, "it is true what your ancient texts claim, that from death springs forth new life." The change within the Galactic Council was evident. Where suspicion had once festered, now flickers of collaboration began to spark. Trade delegations, first disguised as biohazard assessment teams, warily studied Earth's wares. Minerals that were biologically inert on the human homeworld proved to be potent energy conductors when infused with trace amounts of oxygen. Unique plant species, adapted to Earth's high oxygen atmosphere, revealed revolutionary pharmacological properties in alien test subjects. Alex, his status altering from diplomat to ambassador of a dangerous resource, found himself the odd cornerstone in this extraordinary commerce network. The sheer logistical nightmare of safely extracting, filtering, and transporting Earth's atmosphere became his domain. He oversaw the construction of specialized harvesting facilities in the most desolate corners of Siberia, the establishment of fortified distribution hubs on the Moon, and the creation of a fleet of ships capable of containing the volatile cargo. With this newfound economic importance came a grudging acceptance. It was difficult to describe a species as a danger when their very breath carried the ability to cure your ill, power your cities, or change your industries. The early murmurs of panic faded, replaced by the buzz of intergalactic trade. Humans, the pariahs of the cosmos, were now reluctantly regarded valuable, if somewhat terrifying, partners. Life on the Council Station transformed for the human delegation. Their quarters were expanded, the sterile isolation replaced with accommodations designed to replicate as best as possible an Earth-like environment. Sato, her initial claustrophobia now a distant memory, practically sprouted roots in the newly constructed biodomes, delighting in the opportunity to analyze the reactions of extraterrestrial flora to her controlled oxygen experiments. Yet undercurrents of tension still swirled. Whispered murmurs indicated to covert study performed by less conscientious council members, motivated by a residual terror coupled with a desperate push for military dominance. Alex knew that the galaxy's newfound reliance on human-sourced oxygen could just as easily become a strategic vulnerability, a means of control. One starlit cycle summoned to the quarters of the Varric delegation, beings known for their enigmatic pronouncements. Alex found himself confronted by this duality. The Varric buzzed brilliantly in the dimly lighted room, their energy field rippling like an aurora. "Your kind traffics in a volatile force," the collective voice repeated, free of the normal translator-induced distortion. "Life and death, in a single breath. It brings balance, but also potential for discord." Alex met the Varric's enigmatic gaze squarely, his years of diplomatic training steadying his resolve. "You're right. Oxygen can be a weapon, but it can also be a catalyst for progress. Which path the galaxy chooses is yet to be seen." The Varric pulsed in a pattern that could have been amusement, or perhaps simply an unreadable alien calculation. "We observe," they intoned. "We wait." Years turned into a decade. Humanity's integration into the Galactic Council wasn't seamless, but it was undeniable. Oxygen distribution networks wormed their way across star systems, carrying precious canisters of Earth's atmosphere. Human scientists and engineers were highly sought after, their unique perspective, shaped by an oxygen-rich world, pushing the boundaries of technological innovation. Alex, aged by the weight of his interspecies ambassadorship, finds himself an odd celebrity. His once neatly cropped hair was now shot through with silver, his tailored suits bearing a few more wrinkles than they did at first contact. The naive idealism of his youth had softened into a realistic resolve. Earth, too, had irrevocably changed. Massive oxygen-harvesting complexes littered the world, their glittering constructions glaring against the natural landscapes they painstakingly strove to conserve. The initial fear of ecological damage prompted a rapid acceleration in clean energy development. If mankind wanted to become the lungs of the cosmos, they first needed to guarantee their own Earth could breathe. A sense of restless melancholy had settled over Alex. The victories had been great, yet Earth felt smaller somehow. He ached for the fragrance of rain on new grass, the feeling of the vast ocean under his feet. Sensations no longer freely available when your own planet's atmosphere was a tightly managed product. Then a summons came. The Galactic Council wished to bestow upon him their highest civilian honor, a symbol of interspecies cooperation rarely granted to a single individual, let alone a human. Alex found himself standing before the assembled representatives once more, beneath the vast dome of the council chamber. A decade older, a universe wiser. Thorian clicked their approbation, their multifaceted eyes shining. Malorians swayed, in a rustling chorus, their leaf-like appendages shimmering with a bioluminescence akin to applause. Even the stoic Varric pulsed in what might have been respect. The galaxy, for better or worse, had adapted to the presence of the oxygen breathers. As the elaborate metal, cold metal on his aged skin, was put over his head, Alex couldn't help but remember back to that first desperate gasp in the locked pod. The dread, the uncertainty. "You have transformed our understanding of life itself," the Thorian High Counselor said, her voice booming across the immense room. "What was once feared is now essential. We have learned, begrudgingly perhaps, that the universe might sometimes present us with salvation, disguised as a threat." As the ovation rose around him, Alex pondered about the astounding contradictions of his life. Humans had taught the galaxy a new way to breathe, although they themselves felt a little restricted by their accomplishment. Perhaps, as the Varric had once hinted, true balance was an ongoing quest, a continuous dance between conflict and cooperation, poison and cure. In the aftermath of the ceremony, Alex felt it was time. It had been decades since he'd stepped foot on the land of his homeworld, the location now inextricably connected to the destiny of countless others. His request for extended leave was met with surprise, then reluctant approval from the ever-pragmatic council. Stepping out of the shuttle's pristine atmosphere onto the asphalt of a distant landing area, Alex was overwhelmed with a sensory overload. The air poured into his lungs, rich with the fragrance of ozone after a rainfall, and the heady perfume of flowering wildflowers. It was a terrible, gorgeous reminder of a planet that existed before intergalactic commerce agreements and biocontainment standards. He rented a modest landcraft and set off, deliberately avoiding the sprawling urban centers and their carefully controlled environments. His destination, a secluded stretch of coastline, a place etched in his memory from childhood holidays. The ocean, when he finally reached it, roared with a power that no space station could ever replicate. Alex removed his shoes, letting grainy sand crawl between his toes, delighting in the basic simplicity. He found a weathered piece of driftwood and sat, simply staring at the endless horizon, the waves crashing in a rhythm far older than any galactic treaty. As the sun dipped below the sea, casting long violet shadows across the beach, Alex felt the tension of the past decades bleed away. He was not the ambassador or the oxygen broker or any of the other weighty titles thrust upon him. He was simply human, shaped by an improbable world, yearning for a place that still felt like home. His comm gadget chirped, an urgent reminder of the life that awaited him amid the stars. A part of him yearned to ignore it, to disappear into the deepening twilight. But Alex knew that was a luxury he, and humanity, could no longer afford. He rose, brushing the sand from his clothes. There were treaties to be negotiated, new trade routes to explore, possible conflicts to manage. The galaxy had come to depend on the poison that Earth's breath, and, by extension, on the people who carried it in their blood. As Alex turned back towards the landcraft, a sliver of the moon appeared above the horizon. It seemed brighter, larger than he remembered. Of course, he pondered with a wry grin, it likely had more oxygen in its atmosphere currently. The galaxy was forever changed, and so was Earth. Whether that change would ultimately lead to true harmony or a combustible future remained to be seen. Alex hopped inside the landcraft, setting the coordinates back to the enormous space station and the myriad people that awaited him. It was time to return to the stars, armed with a renewed appreciation for the simple yet miraculous act of breathing. Alex's reappearance generated a rush of fresh activity. Old negotiations, stalled by his absence, lurched forward, fueled by his first-hand observations of Earth's subtle shifts. Trade delegations, emboldened by a more experienced ambassador, pushed for concessions that years prior would have been unthinkable. The oxygen distribution network pulsed with fresh life, its tentacles extending farther into the unexplored reaches of the cosmos. But it was within the halls of the Galactic Council that Alex felt the tremors of an impending shift most acutely. In hushed whispers between his counterparts, in the subtle stiffening of a Thorian's antenna or the unusual dimming of a Varric's energy field, he sensed a growing undercurrent of unease. It was as if the galaxy, having tasted the fruits of this unexpected alliance with the oxygen breathers, now chafed at the constraints. The anxiety had morphed, not disappeared, now flavored with jealousy and a seething yearning for power. The turning point arrived with astonishing swiftness. A seemingly minor trade dispute over the harvesting rights on a resource-rich yet environmentally delicate moon escalated rapidly. The screams of exploitation, of an unfair distribution of advantages, rang around the council room. It was an allegation that had a glimmer of truth. The humans, despite their best endeavors, had definitely gained greatly from the galaxy's dependency on their unique genetics. Alex, his diplomatic abilities developed over decades, sought to bridge the difference. He spoke of shared responsibility, of the dangers of unchecked exploitation, and the imperative for sustainable practices. But his well-worded arguments appeared to fall on deaf ears. For the first time since that initial disastrous first contact, he felt a chilling echo of isolation. The delegations closed ranks. The Thorians, despite their scientific breakthroughs, clicked in defensive agitation. The Malorians, usually advocates for compromise, swayed with an uncharacteristic fervor. Even the enigmatic Varric pulsed with a discordant energy, hinting at internal disunity. As the vote for the controversial moon claim was called, Alex held his breath, not just from the recycled air of the council chamber, but a deeper, existential fear. The results flashed on the chamber's central display, the tally illuminated in a stark shade of red. The motion carried. In the startled stillness that followed, Alex knew with chilling certainty. It was one thing to accept a dangerous commodity, from a species out of necessity, and quite another to accept their growing influence. The galaxy had learned to tolerate humanity, to utilize them. But real, enduring partnership? That seemed to be a bridge too far. In the aftermath of the vote, a cold pragmatism descended upon Alex. He retreated to his sparsely decorated quarters on the council station, a stark contrast to the newly flourishing biodomes that were Sato's pride and joy. Alone, surrounded by recycled air and the hum of life support systems, he contemplated the path forward. Humans had always been a pawn in this grand interstellar game, albeit one with sharp edges and surprising power. They had provided the galaxy with wonders, miraculous healing, revolutionary technologies, a catalyst for growth. However, now their usefulness was seemingly outweighed by resentment at their newfound leverage. This was the crux of interspecies relations, he thought bitterly. An awkward tango between need and terror. He requested an emergency meeting with Earth's governing council, the video feed flickering to life with a stubborn delay. The faces that appeared were familiar, yet lined with the weary determination that mirrored his own. Alex, his former mentor, President Nakamura, continued, her tone marked with anxiety. Shiatrao, the council's vote. It sets a troubling precedent. They have grown bold. Alex admitted, the simple word heavy with implications, emboldened by their reduced reliance on our medical experts. Perhaps the technological leaps they've made using oxygen as a base have created a sense of self-sufficiency. A flicker of anger crossed Nakamura's face. They use our gifts to undermine our position. The audacity. It's the nature of power, President, Alex countered, the weight of years bearing down on him. We knew this reliance was a double-edged sword. Silence descended upon the virtual meeting. The question hung heavy in the artificial air. What now? Sever ties and risk the catastrophic disruption to the galactic economy? Accept subservience and hope for the best? Or perhaps a third, more dangerous option lingered, unspoken. We can't allow ourselves to be marginalized, Alex began cautiously, the words feeling heavy on his tongue. Yet an outright confrontation would be suicidal. We need, he searched for the right phrase, a diplomat to the core even while contemplating unthinkable strategies. A subtle touch. It was Dr. Sato's voice, normally brimming with scientific excitement, now stern with resolution, that broke the tension. Earth's atmosphere is more complex than the Council knows. The harvest they get, the basic oxygen stabilized for safe transport. But there are trace elements, compounds specific to our biosphere. Understanding dawned in Nakamura's eyes. We could adjust the output. Alex leaned forward, the wheels turning in his mind. Not cut off the supply entirely, he reasoned aloud. That would be an overt act of aggression. But alterations, subtle enough to induce unease, disrupt biological processes dependent on pure oxygen. Remind the Council, without stating it outright, that our life-giving molecule is not so easily controlled. Now you enjoy other is more wonderful. Today, we have a special story for you. Something that's been in the works for quite a few months. Now, it's a pretty excellent narrative, so you'll want to watch till the finish. If you're a person that enjoys subtitles, you can click on the YouTube closed captioning button on the bottom right to get accurate subtitles. Please make sure you like this video if you want to see more projects exactly like this. Enjoy. The sound of chatter and activity abounds as two cadets speak to one another beside an external viewport at the edges of their ship's bar. Jack, isn't it beautiful? Where, Debs? What? You mean the planet? Jack. No, the fleet. Debs. Eh? What about it? Jack. Just look at them, thousands, all in perfect formation spread across millions of kilometers, and full night sky in itself, and we're a part of it. A part of the last fleet in the final fight, in this ultimate war. Jack stares out at the spectacle of the fleet arrayed in the distance of space outside the bar window, a broad dispersion of flickering points of light momentarily overpowered by the passage of a wave of light from this ship's own shield. There is a distinct clinking of glasses in the background, joined by the mumbles of other conversations. Debs. Hey, I still don't see it. From this far away, you can hardly even make out any of the other ships. It's simply another pinprick of light amid countless. Besides, I doubt this is the final one. True, Jack. It is, I swear. I heard it from one of the higher-ups. This is it, the last of the enemy's bastions, their homeworld. Everyone knows we've had them on the back ropes for generations now, and this is finally the end. After this, no more war ever again. The Empire will be just that. The Empire, the one and only. No need for war if there's no one to war with. Debs. I don't know. For one, how do we even know that this is their homeworld? I mean, we've still only mapped like half the galaxy. Mostly because they owned that half, and we've been a bit too occupied to bother charting the rest. Who knows how many other holdouts they have? And come on, I know you're a bit of an idealist, Jack, but surely even you know how history goes. There might not be another for a while, but one day someone somewhere will get the idea in their head that they should start killing people for some stupid ideal or other, and they'll end up convincing a whole bunch of other people. And then what? A rebellion. That's what. Civil war, if you could even really call it civil. Jack. Thank you, Debbie Downer. I may be an idealist, but it beats being pointlessly pessimistic like you, Debs. Come on, this is an occasion for celebration. Debs takes a moment and a long sip of her drink, allowing Jack's words to sink in. The ice tinks as she sets her cup back down. Debs. Celebration? Jack, this is cruel. It's one planet. They don't even have a fleet anymore. The last of it got wiped out a year ago. It's been nothing but insurrections and small-time raids. We haven't seen a new ship out of them since I was born. 22 years, Jack. Zero. Nothing. This isn't even a war at this point. It's just murder. Jack. That's how war is. This isn't primitive Dark Age stuff anymore. We have the whole history on record. You know as well as I do the kind of malicious, cruel horrors they've committed. They're monsters, Debs. Through and through. Debs. Sure. And how are we any different? Even if we do need to make sure there are none of them left, did we need to be so overdramatic? Do we really need every single last ship in the entire fleet for this? This is enough weaponry to level a whole sector, let alone one planet. Heck, with no fleet to oppose us, we could have just launched a remote strike and let it end with that. No need to even approach the gravity well and show them their imminent doom. Jack. Gods, you have zero sense for symbolism. This is the end of the war. Not just any war. The war. The biggest war in the history of wars. Can you imagine how dreadful it would be if what's recorded in the history books was, "And then we nuked them"? Horrible. Even I know that. This needs to be big. It has to be. What would be the point of it all if we just let it, I don't know, just cry out? It's a symbol of a new era of peace and prosperity, where war is just a memory. Debs, do you see that? Jack, see what? The bright future that's ahead of the Empire? Debs, shut up, Jack, no, that. Look, a brief pause as Jack turns to look out of the window where Debs is pointing. There's a crash as two men who were moments from fisticuffs as well as everyone else in the entire shipboard bar, all stop to look at a suddenly appearing and incredibly bright point of light, which dwarfs all the others. Jack. I don't... Whoa, wait. What the hell? Is that one of ours? The shield is... Debs. Massive. I've never seen a shield that bright before. And it's so far away and it's still that bright? How big is that thing? Did High Command seriously commission some super warship right as the war is about to... She is interrupted by alarm sirens. The red emergency lights flicker on, and everyone starts to only mildly panic as they leave the bar to get to their stations. AI intercom. Red alert. Red alert. Enemy warship detected. Battle stations. Red alert. Jack. Apostles above, Debs, do you see that? It's firing. I've never seen anything like it. What is it? Some type of laser? I thought lasers were invisible with no medium to travel through. Several individuals who haven't run out of the bar yet gasp in horror, and one woman screams in terror. Debs. Apostles, it just cut one of the flagships in half. The core exploded quickly. I can scarcely look at the radioactive plume. Oh gods, that beam is coming for... Oh gods, Jack! Jack! Get... An explosion sounds but is swiftly cut off as the silence of space consumes the scene. Several moments of dead silence follow. More alarm sirens and the sounds of troops yelling commands and confirmations, asking aid or executing their tasks. Engineer 1. Get a hold of that stray particle, damn it. Engineer 2. I know! An explosion rocks them. Engineer 1. Shit, we're hit. How are the shield fluxes? Engineer 2. Barely holding on, but we lost the entire aft section. We're lucky that it didn't hit the core directly, or we'd be dust. It's all I can do to keep the compartment barriers online. Apostles above, what is even hitting us? I thought they didn't have a fleet. Engineer 1. I don't know, damn it. Just keep the shields online. We're sitting ducks without the thrusters. Intercom. Engineering. Bay, what the hell is going on? We need thrusters now. Engineer 1. Negative, bridge. We lost the entire aft section. We're dead in the water. It's all we can do to maintain the internal barriers operational and the air inside the ship long enough for the stranded troops to make it beyond the physical bulkheads. Intercom. No engineering bay. We need that electricity today. Give up the sections that are exposed. Close any bulk doors we have. We need all the power we have on directional shields. To the bow. Every last drop you can squeeze, or we're gonna be actually dead. Engineer 2. Dear gods above, but that's so many. Engineer 1. Shut it, we have our orders. You have the shield fluxes. Do it. Engineer 2. Closing bulkheads. Apostles, forgive me. The sound of rushing air briefly echoes, along with the almost immediately silenced screams of hundreds as the void takes them. Engineer 2 mutters prayers under his breath. Engineer 1. Pull yourself together, damn it. This is life or death. I have no clue what's going on out there, But clearly the enemy wasn't as vulnerable as Command believed. Focus. You heard the captain? We need those shields, or we're all dead. Engineer 2. You're right. You're right. Sorry. Maximizing forward shields. Oh gods, please let it be enough. The sound of creaking, twisting metal resounds through the ship, and the engineers are almost rocked to their feet. Engineer 1. Gods above. What was that? We may be half as massive as usual right now, but this is still an Empire cruiser. It weighs thousands of tons. No modern weapon system packs enough kinetic punch to rock us that hard. Are the shields? Engineer 2. Yes, holding, barely. But another hit like that, and they'll break. No clue if we'll survive whatever comes in after. I can't believe it. It's like we ran into a little asteroid. Did a smaller ship crash into us, maybe? Engineer 1. I don't know. That first strike sliced off our sensor array, and now the computer's internals are scrambled by some kind of viral attack. It's a good thing this ship is last gen. We still have analog control over the fusion core. Something like this would have paralyzed any of the newer ships. Engineer 2. Dear gods, you don't think? Engineer 1. Yeah, we might be one of a handful of ships in the entire fleet even capable of fighting back, assuming this is hitting everyone. And we're already delegged, and with all power focused on the shields, practically defanged. Engineer 2. We need to... Engineer 1. Yeah, I'm about to. Bridge, this is engineering. The ship is also suffering some kind of electronic countermeasure. It's paralyzed most of our advanced electronics, but the older analog stuff is still working. However, I doubt the same is true for most of the rest of the fleet. We might be the only ones with hot weapons. Bridge. Understood, engineering. Change of plans. Doesn't matter if we can take the next hit, because the one after gets us anyway. Shift all power to the laser banks. If we're going down, we're not doing it quietly. Engineer 2. Understood, Chief. Redirecting power to the laser banks. A buzzing hum fills the spacecraft as the laser banks charge, then discharge and shoot a continuous invisible beam of molten sun for many seconds. The picture transitions to the bridge of the ship itself, where the captain just given the order to fire. The banter is there but faint, since procedure mandates a specific audio level be maintained to guarantee that the captain can always yell over whatever cacophony may be occurring. Captain Dan. Pilot Ruth, do we still have the maneuvering thrusters? Pilot Ruth. Aye, Captain, but without much strength they won't drive us very fast. Captain Dan. That's still enough. Any amount of movement should work at this distance. Push everything you've got to get us going straight backward. Can't do laterals since we're missing the rear thrusters. We'll just end up spinning. Fire control, status report. FCO Yarnet. Report, no damage, sir. Their shield ate the entire salvo like it was nothing. Banks overheated from the overload. It'll be a bit before we can fire again. Captain. Damn it all. I was hoping to at least scratch the thing. Engineering. Shift all power back to shields. Attention, all hands. Abandon ship. It's been an honor. Engineer 1. Roger, Captain. Same. Security Chief. Sasha. Captain. Dan, you make it sound like you're not taking a pod. Captain Dan. There's only so many of them, Security Officer Sasha. Our hangars were in the aft section. Besides, someone needs to push the button to lower the shields once the pods start launching. Now go. Comms, before you leave your station, did we get anything from command? Anything at all? Comms. Officer Frederick. No, Captain. Still static. Whatever they did, it jumbled us for good. Hurried, shuffling footsteps as the whole bridge vacates to make their way to the pods. The ship's alarm is still blaring. The captain speaks his thoughts aloud in a combination of confusion and amazement. Captain. How did it come to this? How did they get something like that? Is it even their ship? Just look at it. I've never seen lasers like that. Never seen lasers. What is that weapon even doing that you can see the beam before it impacts? And the speed of it? That's quicker than light. What in the hells are they even firing? More than one, too. An entire array of them, several even, cleaving through the fleet one after the other. It's a marvel that the view screen isn't melting from all the brightness of the fusion plumes. And their shield, it's so dazzling even from so far away. And how are they even shooting with their shields up? Intercom. Bridge, this is Escape Pod Bay 1D. We're loaded. Drop the shields. Captain. Loud and clear. Dropping. A low hum manifests, then vanishes as the sheen of protective fields disappears. He walks over to a synthesizer, which buzzes as it makes him a glass of alcohol, clinking ice included. He hastily gulps down the whole shot as the ship resonates with whooshing noises as the escape pods launch en masse. Gods help us all. He chokes on a second shot, frightened by what he's witnessed. No, that's the Gloriana. Why would they warp in the command carrier so close? Do they not know what's happening? There's no chance they'll survive. He pauses as he notices one of the beams arcing back in his vessel's direction. Shit, time's up. I can only hope most of the pods got away. He takes one last swig before the silence of space claims him. The scene shifts to the loud and hectic bridge war room of the Gloriana moments, before it warps into the battlefield. General Strong. All hands, attention. I am General Sebastian Strong. An unknown enemy vessel has actualized in real space, in front of the Empire's full might. Somehow, it is not already dead. We've lost contact with the main fleet, and long-distance scans have picked up the gravitational waves of several core detonations. They're in the thick of it, and they're without leadership. In just a few minutes, we're going to appear on the battlefield ourselves and re-establish leadership, so that we can confront this increased enemy threat. I'm sure everyone was looking forward to a fast finish to the war, but it appears our adversary wasn't. 2 stations. A dull hum steadily becomes louder as the ship's warp bubble slowly collapses, and it remanifests in reality. An AI voice counts down in time with the hum. AI intercom. Actualization in T-10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Actualizing. The whole ship creaks, and there is a very faint lurch as the immense bulk of the Gloriana actualizes. The bridge gasps, and some men swear, as they find themselves face to face with a vessel several times larger than them. Commander Todd. Apostles, look at it. Where did it even come from? How could they have... General Strong. Can it, Commander? All hands. Battle stations immediately if you aren't already there. Launch all squadrons. Full power to forward shields. I want every single damn tube on this ship firing yesterday. Overcharge every laser bank and pre-fire our point defense just to be sure. 1 salvo, then let our ships through. Data Officer Jones. Lock down incoming transmissions. Whatever knocked out the fleet's comms is going to come for us next, and I want to be ready. Commander Todd, I want you to work on restoring communications via secure channels on personal communicators, and make sure none of them are connected to the primary computer. Orders are simple. Fight. This one's for all the marbles. Coordinate salvos if possible, but don't wait. The bridge comes alive with chatter and activity as his orders are carried out. The sounds of anti-capital torpedoes, point defense flak bursters, and firing laser banks echo throughout the hull. General Strong. Everyone else, huddle on the war table. We need to assess the battlefield. The hologram audibly flickers, displaying a scene of utter holographic carnage to the shock of the war room. Commander Yu. Dear gods above, it's carnage. Half the fleet? It's been barely 15 minutes. How can one vessel do this much damage? Commander Rick. Did you see that thing, Commander Yu? It's the size of a bloody moon, firing visible lasers. Visible lasers. Faster than light ones, too, apparently. Look at them. Why haven't they turned them to us yet? General Strong. Simple. We're too close. Gloriana has no less than 12 fusion cores. If they detonate us, they'll get caught in the explosion. I was intending to be several kilometers off when I gave the jump coordinates. Didn't expect the thing to be this goddamned big. Analysis, people. What are we dealing with? Rick, you're a weapons expert. Enlighten me. Commander Rick. I have no idea, General. I've never seen green beams of death before. Just normal weapons like lasers and grav imploders. Whatever they're firing is beyond the scope of modern technology. Without access to advanced scientific tools, I have no way to analyze it. Commander Roderick. General, if I may, if they cannot fire on us, that means they can't fire on anything behind us. We should tell whatever remains of the fleet to do everything they can to maneuver themselves under Gloriana's shadow. Ci-2. General Strong. Great idea, Commander Roderick. That way, our entire fleet can salvo us in the ass. Look, they took out the carriers first. That's not even supposed to be possible from nearly an entire light minute out. The only ships left are all direct-fire cruisers and bombardment vessels. Commander Yu. Commander, none of the remaining fleet has moved from the staging formation. None of them are even firing right now, except for only a handful of the vessels in the back. See, that one's EVA thrusters are pushing it backward. It was cut clean in half. How is it even operable at all when seemingly no one else is? Data Officer Jones. General, I've finished locking down our incoming transmissions. You were right. Just barely moments after you gave the order, a massive EM pulse shocked the entire system. If any of our receivers had been active, they would have melted. Everything else is EM hardened, thankfully. One of the rear sections didn't lock down in time, and I had to cut them off before whatever hit their system spread to the rest of the ship. It's a virus, Commander. Some kind of electronic attack. Given the speed at which it crippled that section, one specifically designed to counter our systems. But I have no idea how they managed to load a virus onto an EM wave strong enough to destroy electronics. General Strong. Good work, Data Officer. Todd, how's our backup comms? Commander Todd. Working, sir. It seems that whatever pulse Jones was talking about can't reach the personal devices inside the ships. We're free to transmit and receive, but there'll be a light speed delay. General Strong. Good enough. Distribute the orders and tell everyone to close in. If they get close enough, it won't target them with that death ray due to the moving wreckage and the fusion plume. Commander Roderick. General, if the entire fleet collects at one spot, all it will take to destroy us all is a handful of core detonations. Some of those bombardment vessels are large enough to start the chain reaction by themselves. General Strong. I understand, Commander. Todd, direct the bigger boats to go inside Gloriana's shadow and follow us. Bridge. Once the larger vessels are behind us, slowly move about the enemy vessel. Give the larger ships cover as they make their way around towards the planet. We'll give them shade from the lasers so they can use the Celestial for cover. If we're fortunate, the enemy will drop the main fleet and offer us an opportunity fighting to safeguard the world. Commander Roderick. But won't they end up shooting us in the ass, General? General Strong. Can it, Roderick? Besides, they aren't going to target the vessel. They're bombardment cruisers. The blast radius on their payloads would hit us regardless at this range. Commander Todd. General, the surviving fleet reports that they're paralyzed from the viral attack. Only a handful of older generations ships have functioning grav thrusters. General Strong. Get every single data officer on every vessel on the same command structure. We have some of the best minds in the entire Navy on these ships. I want them cracking this virus now. Commander Todd. Understood, General. TFV You're the new data chief. TFV Rurt and Jockle are... General Strong. Fighter. Bay, report. How are the squadrons doing? Flight Master. Bad, sir. The enemy has deployed a strange new countermeasure we've never seen. Fighters and bombers both dropping like flies. It's not visible on sensors, but surviving squadrons are reporting a gray cloud that's devouring ships whole. Commander Rick. Maybe it's not complete. Maybe it's their last-ditch effort. If that's the case, it has a weakness. Some exposed section somewhere. They could be using their shields to conceal it from the sensors. My best guess? The back. General, we should command the fighters to focus fire on the rear shields. General Strong. I agree. Flight Master, order all squadrons to focus efforts on the rear of the vessel, break through those shields, and find any possible weaknesses. The scene shifts to the cockpit of one of the fighter-bomber pilots, just as the Flight Master repeats General Strong's orders. Flight Master. All squadrons, focus on the aft of the enemy vessel. Command believes it may have a weak spot over there. Wing Captain. Great. Just fucking awesome. Red 2. Red 3, flank me. We need to get in close. Pre-fire all weapons. Anything to disrupt those damn ghosts. Red 2. Roger, Wing Captain, I'm on your Her feed is cut as a cloud of gray particles envelops her ship. Red 3. Apostles, Captain, we'll never make it that far. We have to fall back. Wing Captain. No can do, Red 3. We won't make it back either. I witnessed what those monsters did to the ships that turned around. They're prioritizing retreating ships. They're trying to pen us in. The only way through is through. We need to get in under those shields. Activate the phase disruptors on my mark. Red 3. Roger, Wing Captain. Buzzing and whooshes sound in the cockpit as the Wing Captain fires his lasers and PD missiles into any cloud he can see. Wing Captain. Red 3, look, an exposed section. Command was right. It really is incomplete. I'm going in for a run. We have no time. Red 3. Wing Captain, negative, abort. You have clouds on your 6. I repeat, you have fuck. No, damn it, Red 3, you reckless bastard. Shit, they're coming for me. Eat this, assholes. Gah! The scene shifts to the cockpit of a different fighter bomber, deathly silent except for his heavy breathing. Pilot, I'm through. They missed me. But that other fighter wing, thank you. I'm alive thanks to you. Everyone else is gone. Those damn clouds, no, specters of death. I see the opening, but it looks like they're aware of it. Too many clouds nearby. I can't get in. Wait, they're moving. All of them are... Oh gods, no. Please gods, no. They're going. For the Gloriana. It came in too close. Why is it even moving? Oh no, the ship's behind it. It's trying to give them cover from whatever the hell those green death rays are. No. I have to report this. Static is all that answers him. Pilot? Damn it! The shield is too thick. It's blocking my comms. I can't get to them. No, I can't fly out from behind the wall of this ridiculously oversized thruster either, or they'll spot me. I'm trapped. Forced to watch as, oh gods, the clouds are eating it alive. Just melting the Gloriana away. Are those people? Apostles, the mist, it's... He removes his breathing mask and vomits into a container he carries in case he loses his lunch from too hard a turn. Have to move out of here before the ship decides it wants to turn the thrusters on. The specters shifted. If I'm going to take a shot, this is the only opportunity. No. It wouldn't accomplish anything. A single bomb on a single exposed portion isn't going to do nothing to a spacecraft the size of a friggin' moon. I need to hide. Find some way out of here. I can't die like this. I can't. I can't. He begins to sob. It fades into the background as the scene shifts to a family in their living room, watching the news as a new war report breaks. The channel even went so far as to make a show of it being the final war report they'll broadcast, complete with an orchestral fanfare. News. Caster. Breaking news! The final battle of the Galactic War is about to begin. Just a few hours ago today, the whole force of the Emperor's armada deactualized in orbit over the capital, Tarkazian. They've taken the jump and are now arriving on the scene. News vessels have joined them to broadcast the action live, with only a handful of light minutes delay. We have Mary Swaim on the scene. Mary Swaim. Thank you, Tom. As you can see, the size of the complete armada is truly a sight to behold. Never before in our history has the totality of the Empire's fleet assembled into a single configuration. Only one vessel, the command carrier and flagship Gloriana, remains in deep space barely a couple of light minutes distant. In fact, we may switch the cameras onto the Gloriana as she... Oh! The command carrier has just deactualized. She is joining the main fleet. The attack must be beginning. Let's zoom in on the action. Father of the family. What the hell is that? I thought they said the enemy had no ships left. Look at that thing, it's gigantic. And oh gods, honey, get the kids out of here. Mother. But Harold, we've always watched the... Harold. Now, Caroline. Son. Daddy? What's going on? What are those green line thingies? Caroline. It's nothing, dear. Just some celebratory light shows for the new peace parade they're throwing. Now go to your room, children, and finish your homework. Daughter. Mom? School's been out for like 2 weeks? Caroline. Just do as you're told, Susie. Take your brother and stay in your room. Son. Moom, I'm scarred. Caroline. Shh. It's okay, Derek. Mommy's here. Nothing is going to hurt you. Just go to your room and be a nice kid, okay? Derek. Oh, sniffles. Okay. Harold. Dear gods, it's a massacre. What the hell is that thing? Why aren't they doing anything? They're just sitting there letting it... God damn news networks. Cutting the feed like that. If you're gonna show the battle, then show it. No, surviving Navy my left clefticle. Caroline. Harold. Harold. What? They're in their rooms, they can't hear me. And besides, you know I'm right. I told you there was no way they got them all. Space is just too vast. You can't just up and declare that they have no ships left when you don't even control all their planets yet. Stupid propagandizing fools. Now look at them. They got themselves ambushed by some newfangled enemy ship. So much for the last war report. Caroline. But Harold, it's the entire armada. Even if it's a straggler ship, there's no way it can beat that. Harold. Yeah, probably. But it sure did a lot of damage in that opening salvo. I saw something like a dozen core detonations. A dozen. Imagine what would happen if the war really had gone on longer. It would have been another tide turn, this time against us. My grandfather lived through the last one, and let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. The stories he'd tell me when I was a hatchling. Caroline. Please, Harold. I don't think this is a good time to talk about this. Let's just switch over to Talks News. I'm sure they'll have a more up-to-date feed. One ship can't make that much of... There's a flicker. As the holovision feed cuts back in, the same newscaster speaking but with a far more dour voice and grim expression. Newscaster. Hello, people of the Tarkasian Empire. I am Todd Ducker, and it is with a heavy heart that I suggest any children or those weak of heart turn off the broadcast or leave the room. A minute of silence. Now, at exactly 21:24 today, the Empire's full armada set off for the homeworld of the enemy, Loranes. According to publicly published intelligence, the Loranes Federation's fleet-making capabilities had been utterly destroyed 20 years ago, with the final remnants of their fleet being captured in a small skirmish last month. However, it seems that the Federation had recently taken in a new member species, who now speaks as the head of the Loranes Federation. They have requested to share a message with the Empire, which Emperor Tarkasian has approved. A different fanfare plays, one very bassy with drums and a militaristic feel. Speaker: Attention, citizens of Tarkasian and its Empire. I am Federation President Bonald Triton, currently wartime naval general of the new Federation. Armada, and I am human. My people were primitive tribalists when your war began. The Federation had been keeping an eye on us, but never truly interfered aside from a handful of edge cases involving independence. When we developed spaceflight barely 100 years ago, we came to learn of the situation the galaxy was in, and of the Federation's position in the war. Harold: What in the hells is this? A human, it said? It's disgusting. It has no scales, no secondary gills. What are those weird things coming off its head? Caroline: I believe that's fur, darling. It's something that many land-dwelling animals have. Harold: Well, it's disgusting. I can't look at this. I'll be in the kitchen grabbing some sulfuron. Speaker: We also learned of the numerous atrocities committed by the Empire, on the order of your kind Emperor, in many cases with public support from you, its people. Look at this. Look at these worlds. Notice something? They're barren. All of them. Every single one was once a beautiful, life-bearing planet, with unimaginable diversity, and millions of innocent souls. Every single one was bombarded into an inhospitable, unlivable hellscape by Empire fleets, for no reason more than it belonged to the Federation. Loranes was about to join them, and you were going to celebrate this. Celebrate the deaths of countless billions, treating their screams like a fanfare for your feasts of blood and malice. They lost their navy. They had nothing left to resist. You could have simply forced them to surrender and taken their holdings more or less peacefully. But no, you held your big stick, and you swung it with all your might at a helpless, defenseless group of civilians. Harold shouts from the kitchen. Harold: Ha! Propagandizing bastard! The Loranes are scum. For each atrocity they dealt us, we dealt two in turn. It's only fair. Huh, that's weird. Why? Is it dark all of a sudden? By Speaker: So in respect for your culture of murdering innocent civilians, just to prove a point already proven, I bid you farewell, citizens of Tarkasian. Let this be the first and last time this happens. Ever. Caroline: Honey? What is he talking about? What is going on? Derek comes crying down the stairs. Derek: Mommy! Mommy! The sun is gone. The sun disappeared. We're all going to die. Hi, hi, yi! Susie: Mom, calm. Derek, down. I can't cope with this. I'll be in my room. Shutter. Harold: Apostles, Caroline, kids, get into the living room now. Susie: Ugh, do I have to? A deep hum rises louder and louder and louder, drowning out Derek's weeping as the family panics in each other's arms. Caroline: Yes, dear. Now, please. Hush now, Derek. It's all going to be okay. It'll all be fine. We'll be just fine. Come here. That's right. Let Mommy and Daddy protect you. Shh. Then silence washes over, as all is buried. The sounds of pencils etching into notebooks as the lecturer speaks with finality. Lecturer? And then we nuked them. Student: Seriously? That's it? That's lame. A quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. Only 4% of my channel is subscribed.